thoughts that we need to do things according to your will, Lord. We pray that you'll be with us, guide and direct us, protect our town, protect our citizens and our employees and this council. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, council. Had a lot of information in your reading material and communications notes this month. I hope everybody had a chance to go over those. Moving down to item 5, open forum, public comment. Before we start that, is there anyone who wishes to speak that has not signed up? Okay, seeing none. Chief Sharp.
Good evening, everyone. I know we have a heavy agenda tonight, so I'll try to push through this very quickly. I'd just like to take a brief moment of your time to recognize and officially introduce to our citizens and council the Valdese Police Department's newest officer, Officer Sean Link. Rookie school or basic law enforcement training is the starting point for all law enforcement. And know that many do not make it. They start and they don't finish. Once that's completed, an officer has to go to a department and complete a field training, which is conducted as you ride along with senior officers, and a lot do not complete that. Sean has just completed his 400-hour field training program within our department, and he is now an official police officer in our town, sworn to protect and serve our citizens. We have a certificate of completion to recognize him for his achievement and his completion of field training. I know his parents are present and they're proud. His father, a former police officer in New Jersey, himself, I know, is enjoying the passing of the torch tonight. Sean, if you'll please stand and step forward to receive your certificate. Welcome to Valdese, Officer Link.
Thank you, Chief Sharp. Welcome to the town of Valdese, Officer Link.
Yes.
Okay, public comment. And I will read the guidelines before we start that. The council shall provide at least one period for public comment per month during a regular meeting unless no regular meeting is held that month. Any individual or group who wishes to address the council shall inform the town clerk anytime prior to the start of the meeting and provide their name, address, and subject matter about which they wish to speak. Persons must be present if they wish to address the council. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Okay, first on the list, Rick McClure.
My name is Rick McClure. I live at 408 Guru Avenue. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for our new police chief, Mark, on his article in the paper and what he's doing for the drug enforcement and the homeless, which is no small matter. And it appears that doing the contract or negotiations with Western Piedmont Council of Governments, it looks like that's off and running and doing a good job. And Mark, we appreciate all your hard work, and know it's not easy to working with a lot of people, but we appreciate you. Okay. That's been needed a long time, and glad that's going. I just got a couple of questions today. And at the last meeting, Monday night, a lot of stuff was put by the wayside, and originally that Monday night was set up so that the citizens can know what was happening. It's going to be on the regular meeting, so that's 7 days. The citizens have a chance. So a lot of the stuff was put on the consent agenda, and there was people sitting in the audience that was going to find out what was going to happen close to them. That was put on hold. So now they didn't have any chance to find out about it before the night, and then y'all going to vote on it. So they probably don't have anything to say because they had no idea what was going to be talked about. And so the one thing from P to T was put on there, and I had to do a lot of study and talk to several people to find out what that was all about. And probably I should have been looking all the time because of some article about some new housing projects are going to be done. And easements, I had to try to figure out what that was. Took a little bit to sit out. So they got all the, undoubtedly they've done the work and got all the signatures to go across people's property. But that could have been talked about last Monday night, and people had more understanding of what's going on. And then another thing, we had Roger Hebner was going to do a presentation, and he was called and told him not to show up. Now, did the council vote to not do that?
He was called and asked. He agreed with that.
Well, he was told not to show up. So that should not happen anymore. Nobody should call a person and ask him not to show up. And so that's just all I got to say. Does, you know, do we not have any, I don't understand why that happened. So we need to go back to doing what we originally did. I know it's long, and somebody made a comment last week about there's too much processing, you know. But the only way the citizens are going to know ahead of time is to spend an hour or two here on the prior Monday night. Now, if you don't like it, that's tough. That's the way it should be set up. So from now on, I think we should follow the procedures. Either do away with it altogether so people don't know anything about it, or let's go back to what we started and let the people understand what's going to be happening on tonight you're going to vote. Now, I would suggest any of this stuff that was put on the consent agenda not be voted on tonight. But that's not going to happen. At least to give the people a chance to understand what was going on, they don't have a chance now. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Ms. Eula Shook.
My name's Eula Shook, and I guess you say I'm representing Old 18 and the Bethel Road in Morganton. And I want to talk a few minutes about the rates that is increased. I think it's about around $18 a month. And I'd like to know what happened to the infrastructure money. You know, Biden had passed a bill for infrastructure. Now, I know infrastructure covers a lot of territory and a lot of ground, but I do know that covers pipes, water pipes. That ought to be first before you start raising the rates on the customers. And if we did get it, did Moore and Berger, did they put it in the rainy day fund? Well, let them know the rainy day is right now. We need it now. And I do know the structures as they bust and all, and they have to replace them, and it needs to be with new pipes. You know, it's every human being's right to have water at a decent rate. Now I could see 3 or 4 maybe 2 or 3 percentage increase. But $18 a month? Come on. You know, it's God's water. And I'm thankful for the water. And I noticed this past summer, it was supposed to be dry, and we had a lot of water. And I'm very thankful for it. But don't price it out of the reach of the poor, the middle class, and the retirees. I dare say that on Highway 18 and Bethel Road, and I guess I represent here other people that can't pay for the bill. They got other stuff to pay too, and it ain't cheap. So I'd just like to know, what are your plans for next year's rise? And are you going to raise the rates next year? I know one thing, if you keep it at $18 a month increase for 10 years, that's a lot of money. And I would surely love to see it, you know, set, at a reasonable rate for people that lives on that road. And like I said, for the retirees, I dare say most of them, if not all, about near is retired. And you increase every year for 10 years, it's going to be out of the reach. So I just like to know what your plans is for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frank Horton.
Thank you and good evening. I'm with the lady there. I'm from 3065 Brandon Road, out in the Triple Community District. You know, the only ones that got raised on their water, Triple Community. Nobody in the city got raised on the water. Triple Community is the only one. Can I ask a question? When is the August billing cycle? When does that start?
Probably already has. I'd have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So it starts like the 1st of August. So anything before August, June, July, water bills shouldn't have gone up.
The billing rate started in July.
But for your June water, which runs June 16th to July 15th, it went up?
I'd have to look.
Because mine went up.
Okay.
I'm now paying $57. $57, which is footing the bill for a lot of the stuff here in Valdese. That money do we know how many homes there are in the Triple Community District? How many we service, the water services? It's a lot. And you take that every month and you add that up. Where's that money going? Going to help pay for that new fire department, police department, isn't it? That we get no service from. All we're doing is water. And I agree with the lady there. $18 a month. Now, $18 a month I can pay. But it's not right. You're gonna charge us more. And I had in 2022, I had a good water leak. Didn't know where it was coming from, and I called the town of Valdese to have it checked. They wouldn't send anybody. No, we're not gonna send anybody out there. That's what they told me. I've never seen anybody come out there in my area and check water lines from Valdese. So where is my money going to for the service that I'm supposed to be getting for them to check water lines? Never seen anybody from Valdese out there. They said, well, your meter's running. Meter can still run with a water leak. But they wouldn't send anybody to check it. So I'm paying for nothing to be done. $18 more a month, $57 now a month is what my bill is. My water usage from 16th of June to the 15th of July was 2,800 gallons. That's all I used, because I was gone a lot. My family, we were gone, so we didn't use that much water. The highest I had since last year was December. December, I used about 3,900 gallons. But my water bill for 2,800 gallons is a good deal more than what I used for December, 3,800 gallons. Now, I don't understand that. You're gonna kick us up that much. That's the only service we get. We get no other services from Valdese in Triple Community. And is that also, when that sends the water rate up, that's gonna send the water rate up to the fire department out there too, isn't it? That's gonna raise our taxes out there on the fire department. Because the water rates goes up, so that's gotta be recouped somewhere. So there goes your taxes up. So now you're looking at your taxes going up, your water rates going up. Where's it end? Where's it end? The people in the triple community shouldn't have to fit the bill for Valdese. What'd you raise in Valdese? You raised some wastewater, sewage, you raised some sewage, what, $4 and some odd cents? You raised it up $4 and some odd cents. And then you raised something up just a few dollars. But you hit us for $18 more a month. That comes up to a lot of money over a year. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council, moving to item 6, consent agenda. Are there any items that council wishes removed from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove item 0. N-O. Item O.
Oh, okay. Okay, any others, council? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to accept consent agenda with the exception of item O?
Can we have an explanation of, for our citizens who are here about the easements for P, Q, R, S, T with the Valdese Bluffs, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Council. I received a number of questions regarding these easements and been able to answer them from citizens who called the town of Valdese, who even called me regarding a question about these easements. So I've always tried to make myself available, even when I'm not clear doing a council agenda item. What I attempted to convey to you last Monday was the fact that these easements, they are utility easements. They're utility easements granting the town of Valdese the right to install water and sewer line to an adjacent parcel next to the school for a potential housing development. We're proposing to put in a pump station, again, and water to this particular site. It's 100 acres in the hopes, and it looks like, well, we'll see what happens, for water and sewer for the development of housing. No longer will we accept, approve, recommend, at least from the planning board's perspective, any development without water and sewer. I apologize to you profusely if I wasn't clear, but again, these are generally just utility easements granting the right of the town of Valdese to put in a line, water and sewer, and to maintain those lines. We cannot cross anyone's property. We can't do anything unless you grant that property owner grant us the right. And that's all that's all those easements were. There are 5 easements associated with running water and sewer to the Valdese Bluffs. That's what we're calling the site. And that's the only thing I can tell you. They're just basic utility easements for that right. But again, I have attempted to answer questions. I received a call from a citizen in Lake Vista. I answered that question to her level of satisfaction. I've been open to receiving other calls whenever anyone has asked me or called upon me day or night to address concerns that they had that wasn't clearly explained by me during the presentation.
Thank you, Larry. Council, anybody have a question? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item O.
Do you need a second? Is that what you're asking?
I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
Okay, those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 7, new business.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
for business this evening, new business, I move that we amend the agenda to consider the appointment of an interim town manager.
Council, you've heard the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Agenda will be amended, and we'll discuss that item after item N. Okay. Going back to item O under consent, Mr. Hartley, sir. You want item O removed? Item O from the consent.
I'm happy with where it is right now, not on the consent agenda.
Okay, well, we're ready to discuss it.
I know, but I don't care to make a motion about it. I think it's fine. No motion. That's my recommendation.
I thought we just removed it from the
We
consent.
just removed it, so.
Okay, well, now we need to talk about it. It goes to the front.
I don't think we need to talk about it. Does it need discussion? If it's not a motion and not a second, does it need a discussion?
No action.
Yeah, I think there will be no action unless a council member has a motion to be made. I think is what Mr. Harvey's trying to say.
Okay, so you want table. Okay, is there a motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to number 7, item A, Weaver's Mill Housing Project. Sorry. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank Mr. Mayor and council members. Appreciate the time today. Let me get this here pulled up. I'm Luke Fowler with the owner and developer of the mill project, and I'm going to go through what this is going to look like. So it's complete historic adaptive reuse, turning that 60,000 square feet into 60 dwelling units. And we're targeting workforce housing, and what that really means is in Burke County, the area median income, you could earn up to 60% of area median income and still qualified for the reduced rent, the subsidized rent. And this is not like a Section 8 where you have to get a voucher, but just have to be at that level. And I've got those numbers written down on a later slide, but if you're not familiar with where that is, we're only a couple blocks away, right over here on Praley. So again, the historic adaptive reuse really is great recycling and green building because the structure is all already there. So we're reusing all the masonry walls and floors and roof systems. But at this point, we've got it completely gutted and ready for new construction once we can finalize our funding. So again, we got full architectural design. We already were placed last year on the National Register of Historic Places. The demo's completed, the financial commitments are all drafted, and we have successfully rolled over the housing bonds into this year. So this is kind of unique, but because of the shape and layout of how the mill is, there's hardly any identical units because they have to conform to the existing building. But there's only 1 and 2 bedroom units and several handicap accessible units. They'll all have washer and dryer hookups, and then everything else would be, all the other appliances would be included. Look over, we're working with a great architect out of Chapel Hill, and then some of the rest are other professional folks on our development team, including McGuire Woods, which we've got coming up here next behind me. But Northwestern Housing Enterprises, my employer, has done this type of tax credit development and historic adaptive reuse for over 25 years. Our our main territory is 7 northwestern counties from Allegheny down to Yancey, but our board has allowed us to participate in this because of our experience and nonprofit status that helped out with a lot of the funding. I was looking at numbers, so the yeah, so at 60% area median income for Burke County, I believe is 46,800, but that's for a family of 4. And if you go down to a family of 1, you know, it graduates down from there. So I think 1 is more like 32,000. And I thought I had a slide of the rents, but the 1 bedrooms are, I think, 8. Sorry. Yeah, the 1 bedrooms are $860, and the 2 bedrooms are $1,020 approximately, and that does include a utility allowance for water, sewer, trash pickup, parking, so nearly everything included. And again, that's without a housing voucher. It's just that income qualification. So we've been working on this for 4 or 5 years, and we're really looking to break ground or resume regular construction by the end of the year and hopefully get these new units in service. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Glad
you.
you're here.
Kristen up here.
I have a question for you. I didn't understand the 60% medium income.
Area median income.
And tell me about that a little bit more, if you will.
Yeah, so median, so half the people would make above the number and half the people would make below the number. And I believe Burke County's area median income is 76,000 something. And so, yeah, the 4-person household could earn up to 46,000 of a household income.
Okay.
So it's intended for at least one working family member to help them be able to get a good, affordable new housing.
Mr. Fowler, this is very exciting. All the citizens in town have been watching this project progress, then slow down a little bit, and then speed back up. But we've been watching this building for a number of years. We're just excited that we're going to have that many units here in the center of town. This is going to be an economic boost
Yeah, I
to our
agree.
community. We appreciate the investment.
Gets rid of a eyesore and blight,
Yeah.
and some of the previous ones we've done. It's so neat to see the transformation and really lifts the whole neighborhood up, and should be a great asset for the town.
Mr. Fowler, if I may, I was gonna hold my questions until the end, but since we're into this a little bit, and by the way, on a personal note, you have my sympathy in losing your father in the last couple of weeks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
These subsidized units, is that all units or is that just a portion of them?
No, that is for all.
All?
So, yes.
Okay. So anybody who wants to live there has to qualify that way?
Yeah, they can go to the property management service and they do the annual income verification.
And will this facility be paying property taxes? Or will that be exempt from property taxes?
I believe it would be exempt on our nonprofit ownership.
And you'll be purchasing water and sewage from the town. Will that be at 60 times the residential rate, or will that be some commercial rate? Or has that been settled yet?
I don't think that we've determined that yet, but they'll have to be individually metered, so each unit.
It will be or will not be?
It will be individually
Okay.
metered, I believe, yes. So that should be market rates for utilities.
So we have, I think Valdese is on a path here to become the affordable housing center of Burke County, depending on how you define affordable housing. But Pine Crossing recently opened, and it has a similar subsidized rental rates, and there's been some disappointment in connection with that because, for example, our town employees, who, many of whom are not making enough, frankly, but they make too much to qualify for that apartment, so they're not gonna be able to live in your apartments either. School teachers, same way. Somebody who is works at McDonald's maybe and qualifies, if it's a two-income couple, they may not qualify. So who is the served market?
Well, I guess this is defined by the government regulations, and this is, the 60% number is nationally what is referred to as workforce housing. So this comes from the top down, and really, we just have to comply for the funding.
People on welfare and disability, they would
Yeah, I mean,
probably qualify.
yeah, Social Security and some different investment things still play into the income verification, but if if welfare and Social Security income still count, but that would certainly allow for those folks.
So the benefit to Valdese, now will current Valdese residents have preference? If they apply to the apartments, will they get preference over residents from outside Valdese or outside Burke County?
No, I don't think so. Based on fair housing laws, the property manager has to screen everybody the same.
It'll be whoever is most needy will get the apartments.
Yeah, and then really first come, first serve until it's leased up.
Is there a minimum amount of income they have to make?
No.
I thought when we did workforce housing with Pine Crossing, we were looking at policemen and teachers and firefighters. So is this a different definition of workforce housing?
Again, I mean, this is just what the government defines is that 60% number. And I know it'd be great for fire and
Yeah.
police and that.
And that's what we had before under workforce housing.
And Pine
Yeah.
Crossing is filled.
It's filled,
it's
yeah, and
completely
those were the types of people that received apartments through workforce housing, the funds we received for workforce housing.
Well, we own and operate and manage quite a bit of our 7-county properties, and across the board, it looks similar to market rate as far as, it's like any other landlord and tenant situation. You're gonna have good actors and bad actors, and like the rate of evictions, for example, it lines up with market rate. So,
Yeah, I think the problem with the citizens of Valdese, frankly, is how does this benefit the town of Valdese? Our residents don't get preference, or our police officers and our maintenance workers can't even qualify to live there. Our school teachers can't qualify to live there. We get no property taxes. We're gonna have to provide public police and fire support. It's just, I mean, it's wonderful. My avocation was renovating old buildings, nothing like this, but little buildings. So I admire you for doing that, but then as a council member, I have to say, well, gee, what's in this for Valdese, except expense? So it's not to criticize what you're doing. It's just a statement of the facts of life
Sure.
in Valdese.
yeah, I understand. There's still certainly a need, we've had to do multiple market studies, and there's a community need for that population.
See, one of the things that I've read somewhere about this type of housing is that to qualify, you have to have at least a certain percentage of the units subsidized. and some could go at market rate. But in this case, that isn't in Pine Crossing. I was misled about that, misled myself about Pine Crossing because I thought there was gonna be some of each. And when I went to the tour with the town planning board, I asked that question. Hold on, they're all subsidized, so no policeman can get into Pine Crossing.
Yeah, and it does actually break down a little more complicated than that. They're 100% of the units are subsidized,
Yeah.
but we have to hold like 10% back for extremely low income, 10% from the 20 to 30, 30 to 50% AMI. So there's a handful that are skewed even lower, but the majority is at that 60% mark.
So I was just reading something here on a government website. It says workforce housing units refers to properties that serve people who do not qualify for affordable housing assistance but cannot afford market rate rent prices in their area. So, I mean, it
Yeah,
would be-
so like what they're gonna define as affordable is at that 50%, like where you would qualify for a Section 8 voucher, is at the 50% or lower incomes. So it's,
But a lot of these folks they're working, they have a job. I see that as the entry level to getting into a community and actually filling some of these voids that employers have in an area. They need employees, so somebody has to, they have to live somewhere.
yeah. Well, thank you all for your time, and I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Thank you.
I go to the next PowerPoint. There we go. She's got me. Thank you. Okay, so you've heard about the project now from Mr. Fowler. And sorry, I should introduce myself first. My name's Kristen Kirby. I'm with McGuire Woods in Raleigh. We are serving as bond counsel for this project and the issuance of the bonds that will finance a portion of the project that Luke described. So this is just a little bit of an introduction as to what these bonds are, what the requirements for them are, and what our request of the town is in connection with this project. So a bond, as you may be familiar with from the town issuing bonds or debt in other circumstances, a bond is a debt instrument that is issued by a governmental entity. So that could be a housing authority, a county, or a city or a town. Under North Carolina law, the town is authorized to exercise any powers that a local housing authority could exercise, including acting as the issuer for this type of bonds. And in this instance, what we would be requesting the town to do would be to act as a conduit bond issuer. So for the town to issue the bonds that will be used as part of the financing mechanism for the project. In these types of conduit debt issuances, we call that a conduit debt issuance because it's not the town borrowing the money or even the town providing the money. The town is acting as a pass-through. The funds are being loaned from in this case, the public market, where we're selling the bonds to the borrower, which is the developer, and the developer will use those funds to acquire the building and convert it into affordable housing. These bonds are a type of private activity bonds authorized under the federal tax code. And again, the town has no financial liability with respect to the bonds. You're merely a pass-through issuer because the federal tax code requires that you have a governmental entity involved in the deal issuing the bonds. This touches a little bit on what Luke was describing. So to use this type of bond financing, you have to meet one of two income tests. Either 20% of the units have to be set aside at 50% or less of area median income, or 40% of units have to be set aside at 60% less of area median income. Those income limits, as Luke was describing, that's dictated by HUD. Those are HUD calculates the area median income, publishes that, and your rents are limited based on those HUD guidelines, subject to your family size. The property manager will have to determine tenants' incomes annually to ensure that they remain in compliance with those income restrictions. The income restrictions will stay in place for the longer of 15 years or the life of the bonds, or for any period during which there is Section 8 assistance. Here, as was described, they're choosing to make all of the units set aside at 60% or less of area median income, which by using these bonds to finance the project also qualifies to receive low-income housing tax credits from the federal government. You only receive those tax credits on the affordable units. So even though there is just a minimum requirement of 40% being affordable, we typically see a larger amount than that. We typically do see 100% being affordable so that you can get tax credits on the whole building, because that provides a large chunk of the financing for the project. So this slide just describes the different people that will be involved in this deal. There is the issuer of the bonds, that's the governmental unit that issues the bonds. In this instance, that would be the town. We have an underwriter that will actually go sell the bonds to investors. There will be a bond trustee that holds those funds in a project account, and those funds are then used to pay costs of the project, and the trustee also collects the debt payments on the bonds and passes those back to the bondholders. So no funds are flowing through the town. They're all held with the trustee. No monies are coming in and out of town accounts. Bond counsel, that is our firm. We oversee the process and the various bond approvals and issue an opinion that the project and the financing meet the requirements and that the bonds are tax exempt. Issuer's counsel in this case would be your town attorney, who's reviewing the documents and along with us, because as bond counsel, our client would also be the town, to make sure the town's interests are covered. Then we have an underwriter's counsel who will prepare the document that's used for the sale of the bonds in the market, and the developer has their own counsel involved as well. So what is the ask of the town, and what would be the town's responsibilities? Again, just reiterating that by issuing the bonds, the town is in no way taking on any debt. The bonds are not the town's debt. It's not a pledge of your faith and credit or your taxing power. These bonds don't affect the town's legal debt limit or your debt ratios or your $10 million bank qualification limit on your own borrowings. Instead, it's the developer that is solely responsible for repaying all principal and interest on the bonds. I will point out that it is customary in these deals for the issuer to receive a fee for their services in doing the work that's required to be the issuer of the bonds. And as well, the developer covers any costs that the town incurs, including our bond counsel fee, town attorney's fees, or anything else, so that there's no cost to the town for serving in this role. The steps that are required to do one of these bond issuances, some of these have already taken place. So the developers already filed their application with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency and been approved for the bond volume cap and the tax credits that I mentioned before. There's typically an inducement resolution adopted by the issuer of the bonds. You may recall that we started out this project with the Valdese Housing Authority, and we came before the town probably 18 months or so ago for an approval related to the bonds when we expected the Housing Authority to serve as the bond issuer. So they had previously adopted an inducement resolution for this project, and the town actually gave, the town council adopted, held a public hearing about the bonds and adopted a resolution authorizing the project to occur in the town and the housing authority to issue the bonds, which is the TEFRA hearing, which if we move forward with the town as the issuer, we would need to redo, so we would come back before the town council again for a public hearing about the project to give your citizens an opportunity to speak about it and about the bonds. And then we'd ask the town council to adopt a resolution approving the issuance of the bonds and the various documents that are needed in connection with the bond issuance. And then, you know, we're getting wrapped up towards the closing process. We'll begin drafting documents. There would be documents for the town to sign. And then as the issuer, you would receive reports after closing regarding the project, the status of it, and its compliance with the tax code requirements. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the bond process or what it would mean for the town to be the issuer, since that's the request before you tonight.
I have a couple.
Of course, happy to answer them.
What is the total amount of bonds we're going to be looking for in this issuance?
Do you remember?
Without the tax credits,
Yeah, or just the bond allocation amount.
5 million, 10 million?
I think it's,
I think it's around 10 to 15, or no?
yeah. Our total development cost is approaching 19 million.
Yeah, and so the bonds have to finance 50% of the total cost, so I think it's around 10 million.
Do we get a number there of what the total cost is or what the bonds?
So I think the total project cost is expected to be around 19 million. To qualify for the tax credits, at least half of the project cost has to be financed with bonds, so the bonds would be at least half that, so roughly 10 million.
Okay. And working for this new boss that I've had here recently, I'm still looking for something for what's the town of Valdese got out of this? And I understand the town of Valdese is the issuer with no obligation, but the issuer often does or always does or can receive a fee for serving as the issuer.
Yes.
What would the amount of that fee be?
So typically what I see is in the range of 1%, so 1% of whatever the bond amount is ultimately, is pretty standard across housing authorities and issuers across the state. There's obviously some give and take in that. Some charge a little bit less, some charge a little bit more. Under the federal tax code, it is limited what the town can earn, so there is a cap at 1.5%, but I would say around 1% is what we see most judges.
So 1% would be $100,000, 1.5% would be $150,000.
Correct.
And with whom do we negotiate those numbers?
That would be a negotiation with the developer
Okay.
in the town.
And Mr. Harvey, she kind of brought up one other point to your questions. So after 15 years, the property restrictions don't apply, and we would likely be very happy to sell to a market rate manager owner. So 15 years, not that long for the life, but it's gonna be the ability.
Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, let me clear up something. Councilman Harvey had mentioned the utilities. There will be 1 meter times 60 units. That's how it would be billed. So we'll have one meter for the development times 60 apartments.
Okay. 1 meter, 1 bill. council. Item B, 2023 North Carolina Department of Labor Safety Awards, Chief Walker.
Hello, council and citizens and everyone here this evening. I come with the honor of being able to present our calendar year 2023 safety awards that we received from the Department of Labor. With these, it's important to remember it's very difficult for us as a town our size to actually get these, because as we go through the list, you may notice the fire department's the only department that did not receive an award last year. And we had one incident last year, and that disqualified us because we have so few employees that our hours worked is so small that it's a huge percentage of employees that got injured because we have so few employees. So it is impressive that every other one of our departments, our other 7 departments, all received awards this year. So to start off with, we'll go with the North Carolina Department of Labor Safety Achievement Silver Awards. In order to qualify for that, the days away from work rate must be at least 50% below the industry average. So for last year, calendar year 2023, we had 2 departments that earned the North Carolina Safety Achievement Silver Award. The first of those would be the Valdese Police Department, and that's their first year. Okay, the second department receiving the Silver Achievement Award was Valdese Public Works, and that's for the 2nd consecutive year. All right, so moving on, we'll go to the gold at the North Carolina Department of Labor Safety Achievement Gold Award. And in order to receive the Gold Award, your days away from work and your job transfer or restriction rates must be at least 50% below the industry average. So for town departments receiving the Gold Award, first off would be the wastewater department, and that is their first year. All right, next we have the recreation department for the 2nd consecutive year. Next, we have the water department, and it's their 7th consecutive year. I don't think Eric's here. And then, community affairs department is their 13th consecutive year receiving the Gold Award. And last, but certainly not least, we have the 3rd longest active streak in the state with our administrative department, with the 36th consecutive year of the Gold Safety Award. So that concludes our awards that we had, but it just goes to show how much not only our department heads, but each employee focuses on safety throughout the town. And we really try to work together as one cohesive unit whenever we can help each other out. So.
Thank you, Chief Walker, and thanks to our department heads and our employees for working safe. That saves money on workman's comp insurance also. Okay, council. Next, item C, public hearing, rezoning map amendment 2-6-24-B-1, Central Business District to B2, General Business District. And this was presented by Mr. Johnson, and I will now call the public meeting to order, and since this is a public meeting, recognize Mr. Johnson.
Well, thank you for the recognition, Mr. Mayor. First, let me just make a comment. Councilman Mears had mentioned at the last meeting about how long the agenda would be for tonight's meeting. And certainly there have been others that have mentioned that we do have a long meeting. With that being said, I just want to emphasize that during this public hearing, there is a process that I must go through in order to get you to the point where you can approve or disapprove this rezoning. So I apologize if I take my time just a little bit, because I need to give you the information in order for you to make that decision. So, again, I'll try to be quickly, but I need to cover a lot of things. Okay. So, Council, this is Agenda Amendment 2624. This is the second of 4 public hearings that I will be presenting to you. Of course, this will be the recommend coming from the Planning Board. How did we get here? The same way we got here previously, and it's about that land use action plan, that vision for the future, for the next 10 to 20 years. And that's the plan, and again, the land use plan serves as a guide for all these decisions that I'm asking you to make regarding the rezoning of properties. The land use map also provides the map, the strategies, and that matrix plan. And again, I've mentioned this previously, I mentioned it to you again, about rezoning the properties in the downtown area being part of that plan. So, the commercial district expansion, expanding downtown, the things that you have been presented thus far includes rewriting the standards for some of the commercial zoning districts. You will be asked to create a new zoning district in a future rezoning request. We talked about expanding the B1 central business, and we talked about expanding the B2. This gives you an idea of the boundary of the parcels that you guys during the course of the next few months will be rezoning, or you have rezoned. Okay, all right. The B1, the B2 sections, if you recall, and now I'm going to give me a laser pointer. There we go. You did this section last time. That was the B1 to B2 West. So we're going to focus this time on B1 to B2 East, again, consisting of 19 parcels. We'll talk about this next month possibly, and then we'll talk about that one. That'll be the end, and then you won't have to worry about me anymore for the year. So let's talk about the amendment. I want to review this with you right now. The request is to rezone 19 parcels or properties from the current zoning designation of central business, B1. We want to rezone those simply to B2. In the words of the town clerk, the only thing we're doing here is changing the map, people. That's what she tells me all the time. The B2 General Business District, for those that do not know or don't know, the B2 General Business District is intended to encourage the establishment of areas or businesses that normally do not require a central location. Think in terms of Valdese, what we got going on right now. Most of our commercial development is along one street. That's all we got. So this is part of the process of changing some of the zoning designations of some of those uses on Main Street. And again, I'll be bringing back some other rezoning requests that will allow for business opportunities outside of that one street corridor of Highway 70 or Main Street. All right, so let's get into the processes. This is the review criteria. There are going to be around 5 things that I need to mention to you briefly. We're going to talk about existing land uses first. Of the 19 parcels, you got one that's residential, you got some personal service establishments, you got automotive sales, medical stuff, parks, parking lot, just a host of things. I'm tired already. All right. So, and here are some of the pictures of some of those uses. Dental here, parking lot here for the bakery. Here you have electrical sales, I guess. LG, I'm not quite sure what LG does there outside of, I know he sells flags, and I know he does some automotive repair, but retail sales and services. Vacant buildings for office opportunities. Of course, we have the park and laundromat and restaurant here. Another automotive sales, insurance, and vacant building. Been vacant for probably as long as I've been here, which is a long time. And then we have convenience store, we have the lodge, and we have the pizza bar. So all of those, these are some of the uses that I'm hoping council will consider changing the zoning designation from central business to general business. Again, it coincides with the definition. General business are generally businesses that are located along the corridors outside the perimeters of our core central business district. Okay, and then there's one house that sits in the middle of all of this as well. So, okay, but it's important to know that to the extent to which this rezoning will be detrimental to the 19 properties, this request to B2, all of those uses that I mentioned are permitted in the B2 zoning district. Then I don't need to repeat that. All of them are permitted. So we covered existing. Let's talk about neighborhood now. The neighboring uses, around those 19 parcels, mostly manufacturing parking lots. We have a church. We also have some retail sales and services. To the north, parking lot, Bimbo Bakery. It's pretty obvious. To the north, we got that because it goes all the way up to Walnut. To the south, we have manufacturing, corrugated, and then we have the new medical office to the south of these 19 properties. Also to the south, we do have some residential with a multifamily, with a duplex here, and some single-family homes. And to the east, we have car wash / some type of business, and we have a church. And finally, to the west, what we have is parking lot for additional parking for Bimbo. Now, the rezoning of the 19 parcels to B2, again, will not be detrimental to these, even the adjoining property owners. So it's not, doesn't cause anything to the existing, won't be detrimental in the opinion of the planning board to the neighboring properties, given the neighboring properties. Second criteria, traffic. Traffic, we didn't conduct a traffic study. Highway 70, Main Street is a state road. I just pulled the AADT traffic count, 8,700 vehicles per day on Main Street East. If you recall, on Main Street West, we had around 8,500. So they're turning off somewhere. They're not going straight through town. But this is the number. All right. Traffic volume won't have an impact, certainly, on this request. Third thing, let's talk about public services. Public services include water and sewer, police and fire protection to the extent in which the amendment will cause services to fall below acceptable level. Nah, won't happen here. Not with this request. Consistency with the land use plan. Again, the general area is classified as commercial by the land use plan. So this petition is consistent, one of my key words, with the land use action plan. And I'll give you an example here. We can look at that and you can see this red corridor here represents commercial right in here. And these are the parcels right in here that we're talking about. So it is consistent. And then the fifth thing is spot zoning. The total acreage of these 19 parcels are of sufficient size that it will not be construed as spot zoning. So let me just go through my review and then I'll take my seat or answer any questions that you may have. Valdese Planning Board recommended a rezoning amendment in June to rezone these parcels from B1 to B2. The parcels are residential, personal service establishment, automotive sales, community parts, parking lots, insurance, business office types, clubs and lodges, and even convenience store. The B2 general business allows all of these uses, okay? The rezoning petition is consistent with the land use vision, and the total acreage will not be construed as spot zoning. So with all of that being said, the only thing I need for you to be mindful of two things before I ask for a recommendation. And those two things are related to the general statutes. General statutes 160D 605A in part states that the requirement for you to adopt it is based upon plan consistency, that the governing board was aware of and considered the planning board's recommendation, which I gave you, and any relevant portion of the adopted comprehensive land use plan. And again, I pointed out to you that the land use plan shows this as commercial, okay? The second thing I ask you to consider in this is the 160D 605B, and we're going to talk about the reasonableness. When adopting or rejecting any petition for a zoning map, which we're doing this evening, a statement analyzing the reasonableness of the proposed rezoning shall be approved by the governing board. What factors to consider in your approval? The size and the physical conditions, the benefits and the detriments to the landowners, the neighbors, surrounding community, and the relationship between the actual and the permissible development. All those things I tried to convey in the previous slides, some slides to you. So, what I want town council to approve map amendment 2624. I want town council to adopt a consistency and reasonableness statement under the North Carolina General Statutes A and B, affirming that the rezoning is reasonable, affirming that the rezoning is consistent with the land use action plan for the future. That's what I want. I can tell you that the property owners and the adjoining property owners were all notified by first-class mail of a public hearing. I can tell you that the public hearing was advertised. I can also tell you that staff placed public hearing signs where appropriate in the area. Hey, I did pretty good, I think. All right, questions?
Council?
I must have did a great job, if no questions.
Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to speak for or against this?
Excuse me?
Mr. Johnson, if you can just put that recommended action slide back up, just in case they need that for the motion.
Right. Okay, we'll do these in 2 steps. Council, I'll need a motion, as you can see, for number 1, approving the map amendment 2-6-24. I need to also close the public hearing first. Okay, public hearing is now closed, and I'll take the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the Valdese Town Council approve map amendment 2-6-24.
Second.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, I have a motion, second. Any questions, further discussion? If not, those in favor signify by raising your hand and stating yes.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for number 2, council, regarding the consistency statement.
I'll make a motion for number 2 if I don't have to read the whole thing.
I'll second.
I'll read it. Is that okay?
Read it into the record.
I'll read it. The Valdese Town Council adopts the consistency and reasonableness statement under North Carolina General Statute 160D-605A-B, affirming that the rezoning is reasonable and consistent with the Valdese vision, a land use action plan for the future. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Motion carries with none opposed. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, council. Really appreciate the opportunity to present this to you, and see you next month, possibly.
As always, excellent job.
Thank you. If I can figure out how to close this, maybe I'll let somebody else figure out how to close it. I'm out.
Okay, council item D, Drug and Homeless Task Force Report, Chief Sharp.
Good evening again. Since being hired on March 25th and attending my first homeless drug task force meeting the very next day, we've come together on 5 different meetings now. So let's discuss what's occurring and what's coming from those meetings, what's being accomplished. Early on, there seemed to be some confusion as to whether the homelessness issue in our community was actually an issue. I can now provide you some real numbers as our officers working hand in hand with the Western Piedmont Council of Governments Homeless Response Team have hit the streets to locate, identify our homeless and offer those identified as homeless resources. In 2 ride-along sessions conducted with the COG, 18 individuals have been reached out to and been identified within our community. Of that 18, 2 have been placed in situations where they are now staying in a home, and 1 has been placed in a job. I'll also let you know that 1 of those 18 have committed suicide on our streets, on our watch. It is estimated that we're closer to having between 30 and 40 homeless in our community, so we're thinking that we've made contact with about half of our existing homeless population. The COG continues to reach out to those identified to help offer the services on a constant basis. That has been done through cell phone contact and follow-up meetings pre-planned with the COG members. A lot of those meetings are planned with the COG's contact, and a lot of those meetings are planned as our officers make contact and get information about how to make recontact with these individuals. Some of the problems with that is many of the homeless do not have cell phones, they're unable to keep up with dates and times, and it makes it very hard for the follow-up of the meetings. It makes it problematic at times. Councilman Ward, who works on our task force as part of it, has been working to provide a safe zone meeting place for those times at Jethro's on Church Street, where many of the contacts have been taking place. In order for us to have more success stories for the outreach, we have to have a way to create contact with our homeless population and the COG. Our police officers continue to communicate these things verbally as they interact with the individuals and attempt to create follow-up contact on a day-to-day basis. But it has to be arranged due to the COG having a limited supply of workers, which they have about 5 assigned to this homeless response team that covers 3 counties and the multiple jurisdictions, towns, and cities that exist in those counties. So we're working with a limited amount of people to accomplish a lot. Next, we have expanded our efforts of outreach for providing services and resources for the homeless by reaching out and developing a relationship with Burke United Christian Ministries Homeless Outreach. They have created a fantastic facility in Morganton, which provides daily laundry services, showers, meals, and contacts for services for veterans, rehab, and counseling services, just to name a few. They have programs daily, Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. These resources are available to our homeless population, but we have to get them to that facility to get those services, and that's a problem. This issue, once again, is being addressed by the task force, and we're working to create weekly bus trips that will pick up at Jethro's. This is being planned, and we were working on this actually this morning, creating a weekly bus trip that will pick up the homeless and take them to Burke United Christian Ministries to receive some of these services. Again, receiving these services is not just about hygiene, food, and that type of thing. It's about identifying problems as to why they are homeless and attempting to get them off the streets. The police department has also been teaming with the Burke United Christian Ministries at a street level, doing street level introductions, delivering food, hygiene packets, and developing trust with the homeless and inviting those individuals, again, to meet with them and obtain the resources and the services that are available to them. Lastly, our enforcement statistics. Since taking office, our officers have produced 190 criminal charges in the town of Valdese. Of those 190 criminal charges, 83 of the charges were taken out on homeless individuals. That's 44% of the criminal charges during that time period. This is being reported as arrestable or chargeable offenses, not just reportable incidents. As many times we do not have the identified offenders or even suspects in some of those reportable incident statistics. The charges in the offenses we are discussing include larceny, possession of stolen goods, property damage, communicating threats, assault, and possession of illegal drugs. The most prevalent of the charges is larceny, which is theft from our citizens, in addition to many of our retailers in our community. Many of the chargeable offenses represent offenders where they are the same homeless individual being arrested over and over. So we can call that regular customers, and it's no different than any other crime statistic. You have a portion of the population that commits your crime. So not all of the homeless are committing those offenses. It's a certain matter of a few that commit a lot of them, if that makes sense, and you can follow that. Valdese PD has partnered with our citizens, landowners, our code enforcement, and the Burke County Sheriff's Office to shut down identified vacant properties which have been taken over without permission for drug use and other criminal offenses. 2 homes identified as problematic are in the process of changing ownership, and another 100 feet outside of our city limits has been boarded up and secured as recent as this week. I signed 2 trespassing orders with homeowners today that, thank you, our attorney helped us design earlier this week, and that's going to help us with those issues. In addition to that, Sergeant Beck with the Valdese Police Department has been instrumental in continuing to grow our neighborhood watch program. It's an oldie program but goodie, where we partner with our neighborhoods within our town, scheduling monthly meetings with citizens to identify our problems in those neighborhoods needing police assistance. Our goal is to have enough neighborhood watch programs within our town that each and every officer has their own neighborhood watch program to coordinate as part of their assigned duties. So if you have a neighborhood that you want to develop a neighborhood watch program in, come and see us. I intend to take one myself, and I will probably take on the Downtown Association. From a drug standpoint, we have future plans to team up with Harbor Programs, who has street medicine teams, which provide opportunities to receive Narcan to cut down on our overdose issue. Our officers have already partnered with Harbor Programs and Western Piedmont Community College, where every officer has recently received documented training to dispense Narcan on overdose calls, as we are many times the first to arrive. We dispense the same dosage our EMT or paramedics would dispense, and have also been provided Narcan free of charge, which all of our officers carry on duty to be dispensed when and as needed. In these situations, seconds can be the difference in life and death. Since Narcan was issued and the training was received, we have had 2 calls where an officer has dispensed Narcan already. Chief Sharp has also been asked to set on an overdose task force within Burke County, assisting in providing statistics, ideas, and solutions. We are all working together to form follow-up procedures for those individuals who have overdosed, to offer additional resources and where to find those resources. This is part of the efforts where our county is spending opioid settlement monies to combat the nationwide opioid addiction epidemic. From an enforcement effort, our officers have doubled our chargeable drug offenses from last year's efforts during the same time period. And the most notable possession has been methamphetamine in our community recently. As you can see, as stated in a previous council meeting, these are multifaceted problems that need to be addressed from many angles. And as you can see, we are developing partnerships to work hand in hand with the Valdese Police Department to combat these issues. We are providing resources to assist our homeless with opportunities at assisting them in finding jobs and a place to live, which requires follow-up on their part. We are creating prevention opportunities with the drug problem in preventing and responding to overdose. We are also holding everyone accountable by enforcing our laws and ordinances associated with crimes associated with each of the problem areas. The Homeless Drug Task Force will continue to meet, learn, and come up with additional ways to create contact, resources, enforcement action, and solutions, utilizing partnerships with outside agencies along with the Valdese Police Department, who will always be there to do their part.
Thank you, Chief. Questions, council? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, council item E, Facilities Review Committee.
My name's Roger Hebner. I'm the co-chair of the Facilities Review Committee. As you remember, last month we made a recommendation to build a public facilities for the fire and police department in Massillon, but this month we've kind of changed our thoughts a little bit, so we'll go through this. Priority one has been met. All employees are now in safe locations. And we have two new opportunities, police station on Main Street. This opportunity has come available not too long ago, a new fire station on Massillon, and it reduced timeline and cost. The committee fully supports these recommendations. We think it's a great idea. The temporary location of the relocation of public service, the police department is now in the town hall's temporary facilities, and the fire department is in the safe side of the north side of the it's in the safe part of the north side of the existing public service building, public safety building. The proposed police station is going to be on Main Street, which is with the blessing of Chief Sharp, and it'll double the present space, can be renovated to current codes and standards, and their total cost will be probably much less than we had anticipated. As you can see the picture of the proposed location, that's, if anybody knows, it's Mark Mitchell's office, the attorney's office in town. And we've got a completion of a site plan. We're working on it. The renovation will be a new facade, and it'll be a 40-year building lifespan with extensive renovations. And so the police station will be on 215 on Main Street, which is a good location. We feel like that it's very accessible and people can see it. And the fire station will be on 200 Massillon, which is next door to the adjacent lot over here. There's the size of the lot next to the town hall. And the schedule ahead is the council considers the 215 Main Street East tonight, and the architect's scope of work, and hopefully next month the council considers the update on the police station and the fire station. And we just like to thank you for the opportunity to serve this town. We've all enjoyed working with the council and both chiefs, so it's been a great opportunity.
Council, questions?
Any questions?
So the fire department has been moved to what part of that building?
They're moved over into the, Chief, you'll explain where you are.
We haven't moved at all. We're still in our same.
Oh, you still, I thought you already moved.
No.
But you
So,
are
but-
gonna move some.
We're, okay. So a few months ago, it was brought up about potentially moving us, so I did send an email stating everything that would need to be done in order to move us. And I got some feedback back saying, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but then that was it. That was as far as we got. We never actually talked about us truly moving, fixing any of the current issues or anything. So we are still in our old office where we have been for the last, since the 70s. So.
Okay. So are you safe?
That I don't know. We are under the same roof structure as the police department was under, so we are all still in the same part of the building that the police department was in. My recommendation would be If we are moving forward and gonna build a new building within the next 1.5 to 2 years, probably just leave us where we are and risk it until we do get a new facility up.
I don't like words risk it. As a town council member, I do not like to hear those words.
I understand.
So my thing is, are you safe? That's my concern.
That is a good question. I can't say positively one way or the other. I will say if we are thinking about moving all employees out of that building, we also need to move all of the IT equipment and everything. That way employees are completely out of that side of the building and there's no need to enter that side of the building if we are going to fully evacuate and move.
So the police have moved, it's just fire department personnel has not moved?
Correct.
And how many personnel are in that building now?
So pretty much any day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, we have 5 people there. But if we have our volunteer part-time people coming in on meeting nights, we can have upwards of 15, 20 people in that area of the building.
Could we go back to that slide 4 for a moment? That's what we're talking about, I think.
4.
That's it.
Yeah.
Police, fire department.
Yeah, I have a concern here, and that is same concern I've had for the last 6 years. The architectural firm that we hired to review this recommended pretty specifically that these offices be relocated within 30 days.
I have yet to see that or be formally.
I'm sorry?
I have yet to see that letter or be formally informed.
Well,
I have heard.
that recommendation was made in writing. The town manager has a letter stating that. My concern,
I have yet to
again,
see
my
it.
concern is, and I don't want to get into an argument with anybody, but 6 years ago, we had, back in 2018 and 2019, actually, 3 or 4 different firms recommended that that building, that end of the building was not safe, and that it should be shored up. Nothing was done about that.
Correct.
The fact that nothing was done about it subjected the town to unlimited liability, but worse, subjected our employees to danger. Now, this architectural firm actually was one of the ones that looked at it in 2019, but they were very specific this time. They said, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the mayor and I'm talking to the town manager. They said they recommended that these employees be moved within 30 days. And if we don't do that, I mean, the town is exposing our employees to danger, which we don't want to do, and we're exposing the town to unlimited liability. So I don't think we need to discuss that here, but we need to address this. This is a problem.
How much space is left? Because I know the police department moved over there
So
also.
currently there's 4 offices and then what used to be the old council room is pretty much the space that's currently left in that northern part of the building.
Would that accommodate you?
So the 4 offices, yes. As far as the old council room, we would have to put in a kitchen area. I've got a whole list of things that would need to be done. It would be very tight, but I think it would if we did all the renovating that needed to be done. I think we could fit over there, but it would be very tight.
Okay.
Is there Mr. Manager, is there a contingency plan if there were an event? Surely we have a plan in place where if there was some emergency where a storm came through and made the existing fire department building uninhabitable, that surely we have a contingency plan. Is there a place where the fire department chief would go?
Yes, so we came up with a plan a few years ago. The rough plan would be offices relocate into one of the classrooms at the Old Rock School, and then our trucks would then be housed at Public Works, and then we'd either have to rent or purchase a camper of sorts to leave at Public Works for our shift personnel so that we have 24-hour fire coverage.
The concern that the architectural firm has expressed is that, to put it bluntly, if one corner, one section of that south section of the building were to be damaged or were to fail, the entire structure would fall. There's no contingency plan for that. So if we've got a place, if we've got space in the Old Rock School, we've got space in the teacher's cottage, if we've got space in any place, we need to address this tomorrow, if not about 2 weeks ago, which is when the 30 days was up.
Mr. Manager,
So-
if you and Chief Walton work on this starting
Certainly.
tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Is it my understanding that where the trucks are parked is fine? It's just the office areas to the south wall?
I have still yet to see this letter from the architect, so
Okay.
I'll have to review it before I can say.
That's my understanding, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Could we take a look at slide 8 for a moment?
Okay?
I gave the wrong one, if that's it, I'm sorry, I did, slide 5. You were right there, weren't you? Okay. Just want to make a historical observation here, that you hear the expression, what goes around comes around. If you look at that location, I'm colorblind, I don't know if it's yellow or green, but the marked off section is the building that is on the agenda tonight for consideration. To the right of that, right next door to it, also on Main, on the corner of Main and Carolina Street, is a property that the town had an option to purchase back in 2019. And the council and on the manager's recommendation, in his wisdom, decided that wouldn't work. So here we are, 5 years later, we're gonna be right beside it, so we're gonna come out fine. Also, we have Ferris Insurance, another insurance company that moved into town. So we didn't totally lose on that, but it was remarkable, I think, that we have the opportunity to recover and get the police department back on Main Street.
Anybody else?
I agree. Police department needs to be on Main Street. I think that's every
Police
citizen.
department needs to be on Main Street, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Love the location.
Great location.
Okay,
Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay. Item F, consideration of agreement for purchase and sale of improved real property and additional provisions addendum presented by Bo.
All right, so just to follow up on this presentation here, so the purchase of the property would be 215 East Main Street in Valdese, purchase price of $360,000.
I move that we approve the recommendation.
I second.
Okay, council, I have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
But that means we're approving to buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, those in favor signify by saying yes. Raise your right hand.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay. Item G, consideration of AIA document B01-2017, standard form agreement between owner and architect with Talley and Smith Architect. Before we proceed, I wanted to say, Chief Sharp and Brian Steen, thank you for your work on locating this building and moving forward with it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And Chief Sharp was a tremendous, he was the first contact to find that out.
Okay, thank you both.
Okay.
And we appreciate the seller working with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, item G, so this is a follow-up to the original contract with Talley and Smith Architecture. So this scope of work will be solely for renovating the building at 215 Main Street. So the scope of work would be for, bringing that building up to code, renovating it for police use. The total amount of this contract would be $174,755 plus up to $4,000 of reimbursable expenses. And that would get us to the schematic design phase, design development, construction documents, procurement, and construction.
Okay. Council, questions?
I make a motion that we accept this document as presented.
Second.
Okay. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, council. Item H, review and consideration of AI document B 2017 standard form agreement.
So this goes back to the original Tally-Smith architecture agreement that was approved a couple months ago when they were looking at study of what to do, phases we can go in. So now we kind of have a clear direction we're going. We've got the Masella property, we'll get the Main Street property. So this is a revision to that original scope of contract. It's going to take the agreement from $36,000 and it's going to drop it down to $23,400. So it's a reduced phase one study fee.
Always
So-
interested in saving some money, aren't we?
Sure. Yep. So this is just needs approved as an amendment to the original agreement.
Okay, council, questions for Bo? If not, I'll take a motion.
I move that we accept the amendment to the original architect's contract.
Second.
Okay, any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raise your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none opposed, motion carries. Item I, capital project ordinance amendment, public safety building.
So this project amendment for the public safety building would incorporate the last three items that just got approved. And it just basically, we're not bringing in any more town funds from fund balance. We've got funds in the account as it is. We got about 1.1 million currently. So this is just moving some of the money around so we can categorize it for these expenses.
Okay.
So
Council.
what this is doing is taking, of that 1.1 million, taking 542,000 of that.
How much, I'm sorry?
542,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions, council? If not, I'll take a motion in a second.
I move that we approve those budgetary amendments.
A second.
Okay, questions, discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying yes and raise your right hand.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Item J, thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Item J, report from the street resurfacing. Status report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Myself and Interim Manager and Bo met with the DOT on the street paving project and on July the 15th. They are in the process of supplemental agreements with the contractors, and hopefully we'll have some hard numbers by the end of August. So we'll have something to present in September. That's on the 32 streets we presented. So hopefully we can get back some good numbers so we can proceed forward with that. Anybody got any questions?
Alan, what's the timeline on this? I mean, assuming, I guess the town council would have to approve, we could approve it, all the streets being paved at once, as soon as they could be paved by a contractor, or we could do it as a grouping.
Yeah, being it'll be an extra workload on the DOT contracts. Once we agree, say we want to go forward with the 32 streets, it could add anywhere from 18 to 24 months in timeline for everything to be completed. But they could be some fluctuations there, but it'll be within those time frames. But most of the time they would ask for 24 months instead of 18, first initial thoughts.
To do that many streets?
To be that much add on to what DOT has.
I think citizens should be aware that this list of 32 streets, which is actually about 7.4 miles of streets, is going to be out there on the website. It's out there as one of the agenda items here, and it'll be in the minutes eventually. But for all the people in Valdese who live on some of those 32 streets, take a look, see that your street's on there. And if you see some work starting in the next, could start, depends on when we get the final numbers, of course, from DOT. But once the council approves this, then as Mr. Hudson said, it'll be anywhere upwards 2 years to get it all done. But we should be seeing street paving work taking place all over town for the next couple of years.
And being it could be up to 24 months is going to be able to allow us to be able to possibly do the whole 32 streets in order, for the monies to fall in line and that way we can afford to do more. So we're just, hopefully we get back some real good numbers, so we can proceed with the 32 streets. And all of those are in the agenda packets that y'all have, and they will be posted, so people can look at them and see.
Thank you.
Anybody else, council? Thank you, Alan. Okay, item K, permanent pool structure update. Mr. Anderson.
All right, good evening, council, mayor, citizens here in the chamber tonight. So let's talk about the pool structure. This seems to have been a hot topic, or continues to have been a hot topic for us down at the Parks and Rec Department. We continue to field lots of questions about it and where we are in the process. If you all recall, we have hired an architectural engineering firm to work through a design phase, at which point we are now finished with our design phase. And some things have kind of come along. It's taken us some time to get some of the information we'd hoped to get sooner. Our initial timeline was that we were hoping that we might be able to bring you a bid contract tonight, but that's not the case. Where we're at right now, we would receive some design cost estimates and have gone back and forth with the designer. Basically said we want to make some changes to the design and hopeful that that'll make it a better space, but also a more affordable space for us here as a town. So we've kind of updated our timeline here where we're presenting you with a design estimate. Then as part of the contract with our architect and engineering firm, move forward with the creation of construction documents. If you recall, we did go out for a grant that we were hoping to receive from the state. That award is announced on August 23rd. And we don't have any news yet about that other than to say we've heard good things, but we won't have a firm decision until the panel meets on August 22nd to then award on August 23rd. Ideally, we're looking at the first week of September with a pre-bid meeting and the release of CDs, and then bids hopefully due October 16th. Want to make sure that we give plenty of time for any contractors, given the unique nature of this structure, to do their due diligence. Also, we want to make sure that we're not going to be in a position where we're going to have to go back out for bids. Okay? With finally our hope the day before Election Day, having the council approve a final contract for a GC, which we would then hope to mobilize as soon as we possibly can, and then be in that structure by February 1st. The big question here is the design cost. The reason this was not in your packet today was we did not have our most recent design estimates until about 3:30 this afternoon. Okay. The structure itself is, as was presented, in that $500,000 to $600,000 range. It's coming in right about $583,000. Where we're finding the cost to be a little bit more was the site preparation and MEPS costs, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and then interestingly fire suppression costs to bring the design total estimated to $1.35 million. Okay, so where are we looking at as possibilities for these funds? When we first introduced this as a need to be addressed, and we talked about grants, we talked about capital campaign, we talked about the potential for funds coming from being allocated by council toward the project for fund balance. Excuse me. The grant would get us to a point where we have $477,000, roughly a third of the cost for the project. We would hope to start an ambitious capital campaign for $300,000, with the remainder coming from fund balance. So what does that mean in the meantime? One of the questions that we've asked is or has been asked of us is what's going to happen when we would normally have put the bubble up? Well, right now we're going to continue on is our plan. We'll keep the pool open. We have water heaters. We can keep the pool heated. We've already purchased insulation blankets that we utilized in the spring that we'll continue to deploy to prevent a lot of heat loss. It will also strategically approach our scheduling so that we're addressing the key times that we know we have patrons that will be in the water. And then we're gonna make sure that we're gonna be starting in earnest on this capital campaign. That concludes my update for you all. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Council, questions?
So basically, our swim teams would not be able to use a pool this winter.
At this point, the high schools would definitely be at a point or in a place that would be difficult for them to compete or host competitions there. I will say there are teams around the state that practice outdoors year-round. It's a matter of getting from the building into the water, but there are people, teams, places that do it. Definitely not ideal. I think if we get into a position where we are able to mobilize construction in November, that would preclude them from having access to the water at all, more so than any weather might at that point in time.
If you go back to your numbers, are you saying
Sure.
that we're about $800,000 short of what we need to do this?
Yes, sir. I believe the math is correct on that.
And the council's learning this for the first time tonight.
We are just having that number brought to us today.
That's the information you got at 3:30 today.
Yes, sir.
David, what drove the cost up on this? We were originally looking at a cost of, what was the number before?
The structure itself was presented as a cost between $500,000 and $700,000 potentially, with the additional unknown costs of site preparation until we had design work done. What we've seen kind of drive this up is more of the fire suppression is a big part of it, but also the mechanical side, because we want to make sure when we are closed in during the year that we do have good ventilation to prevent deterioration of any materials, but also to make sure that anybody who's in the space is using healthy, clean air.
So the fact that it's a permanent structure versus what we had before that was not permanent, fire suppression would be required by code.
Yes, and Chief Walton can probably discuss that a little more, but Assistant Chief and Fire Marshal Henry has been involved in a lot of discussions with us regarding just what the nature of the fire code is for this particular type of structure.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item L, Valdese Festival plans. Ms. Angie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, we have a busy weekend planned for the town of Valdese. Just want to give you a brief update on what we're looking at for this weekend. As you know, the 49th Annual Valdese Festival is held the second Saturday in August. This is something that we do every year. And this year, we will have a kickoff celebration on Friday night with car show, live music by the Ace Party Band, and we'll have a couple food trucks, the Beer and Wine Garden, dancing on Main Street, and all kinds of fun activities for that evening. Main Street will close at approximately 5 o'clock. On Saturday, we have the Waldensian Foot Race hosted by the Valdese Recreation Department, the LPDA Regional Bocce Tournament. We'll have a free kids area sponsored by the Waldensian Presbyterian Church with all kinds of water slides, obstacle courses, things of that nature. We will have a special presentation on the main stage by the Silver Sneakers Dancers. And then we will have over 160 art and craft vendors come downtown. So we are completely sold out. This year we sold out a lot earlier than normal. I think it was the first or second week of July that our vendor spaces were completely filled. And I owe many thanks to my assistant, Annie South, for making that happen. It takes a lot of communication and follow-up to get all those spaces booked, so she's done a great job with that. But we should see a variety of crafts, businesses, nonprofits, civic groups, all kinds of people coming into downtown. The Railroad Museum will also have an open house at the Rock School. We'll have tours at the Trail of Faith. The Rock School Arts Foundation will have their open art competition and People's Choice Award. And then, of course, the Valdese and Heritage Museum will have tours as well. Ferris Insurance Agency is hosting a chainsaw artist that will do live chainsaw carving 3 different times throughout the event on Saturday. And then we will have a special demonstration by Old Colony players of the outdoor drama from this day forward. And of course, live music we have 3 different bands for Saturday planned. Lost Wages, a local favorite, the Never Bees. Heather's a fan of them, I think. And then also it will conclude at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. with the band Fractured. So we will have all kinds of entertainment for people to enjoy all day long on Saturday. And then finally, the festival will conclude at 5 o'clock, but we invite everybody to go to the outdoor drama at 8 p.m. to see the final show from this day forward.
Okay. Questions, council?
It's exciting that you've sold all the booth spaces. That's great.
Yes. And we tend to fill up every single year, but this year it was just a lot sooner, so I'm excited about that. Our reputation's gotten out with the vendors, I think, so. And we have shared promotion items, just so you're aware. This is one of them that has been shared all over social media, our website, and businesses downtown. We also have provided a map, and we have reached out to all downtown business owners to see if they want to share with us any kind of special promotions that they're doing during festival weekend that we can help promote for them. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, council, item M, Old Rock School renovation fundraising disclosure.
Mr. Mayor, I think that item's been addressed and probably is a no action item.
Okay. Moving on. Item N, consideration of appointments to the Merchants Advisory Committee.
I'll make the motion. I was trying to remember the 6 or 7 names. I think I got them. We had 6 representatives, merchants or representatives of merchants in Valdese applied to serve on this committee, for which there are 7 members. And the 7th member would be Councilwoman Ward, representing the council. The merchants who applied to serve on it, and if it's possible, I'd like to move in one motion that we approve all of them. That's okay. That's Mr. Browning, who's the manager of Highlands Butchery, Kevin Ferris, owner-manager of Ferris Insurance, Sandy Walker, owner-manager of the Doll Shop, Eddie Jolly, owner-manager of WSM, I think it's WSM something V radio station in Valdese, Brian Thompson, the owner of 100 Main, Danny Glenn, one of the owners of Twin Brothers Pizza. So we have 3 restaurants in that group, and 3 other businesses represented, with Councilwoman Ward as the 7th member.
Okay.
I'm moving that we approve those.
Second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, none opposed, motion carries. Mr. Councilman Mears, I'll recognize
Yes,
you.
Mr. Mayor. I move that we appoint Bo Weichel, Assistant Town Manager and Finance Director, as interim town manager for the town of Valdese and as the town's representative on the Valdese ABC Board, Burke Development Incorporated Board, and Valdese Economic Investment Corporation Board, effective August 23rd, 2024, at 5:01 p.m. until such time as a permanent town manager has been appointed by the council and starts work, and that we authorize Mr. Steen and the mayor to negotiate and execute all documents required to effectuate Mr. Weichel's appointment.
Thank you. Council, I need a
Second.
Second, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Interim Manager's Report. A, Old Colony Players presents From This Day Forward, July 12th through August 10th. Fridays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. at the Fred B. Cranford Amphitheater. Item B, 49th Annual Valdese Festival and Foot Race, August 9th and 10th, 2024. Item C, Family Friday Night Summer Concert Series finale is scheduled for Friday, August 30th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Item D, town offices closed on Monday, September 2nd, 2024, in observance of Labor Day. Item E, next agenda review council meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024, 6 p.m., council chambers, Valdese Town Hall. And item F, next regular council meeting scheduled for Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in council chambers, Valdese Town Hall.
Thank you, sir. Council, at this time I'll entertain a motion to go into a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 So be it. And we'll move to the back room back here.
So if I read this correctly, our next meeting will be September 29th.
Where you parking? What's that?
Oh, do we have to adjourn? Okay. Call this meeting back to order, and council will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
I make a motion. I second.
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.